In this video, let's build a biometric authentication into our Android application using fingerprint, face unlock, or your device credential. We'll use the Biometric API and keep everything clean and simple. Let's get started. What exactly is the biometric authentication? Biometric authentication uses your unique physical features like your fingerprint or your face to verify your identity. Think of how you unlock your phone using your finger or your face. Why is it this important for your application? So first of all, it provides security. Your fingerprint can be guessed or stolen like password. And again, it is convenience because just with a single tap, you get instant access to your application without typing complex password. Also, users feel confident that their data is protected. That brings trust for your app. So today we are building exactly this, a simple application that lets users authenticate using their fingerprint, face, or device credential. So now let's dive into code. So I created a new application called Biometric App. First thing you have to do is to add the BiometricPrompt dependency to your project. I'll drop the link in the description. Copy the Kotlin version. Open your Gradle, the app level Gradle, and then add it to your dependencies. Sync the project. Alright, so now move back to your main activity. We are keeping it simple. We need just a button to authenticate and a test to show the result of the authentication. First thing, replace this component activity with fragment activity. This is required for biometric prompt to work, so don't use the regular activity. Let's replace this scaffold with a new compose called biometric app. You can remove this one, then create a new compose for biometric app. Put a button and test in a column, then add the button. Now let's start this test. Alright, so this test will show the authentication result. So we'll do it auth result. You have to create this variable at the top here. So initially we'll set it to not authenticated. So let's center the column. So we'll come back later to implement the logic for the button. Before we can authenticate, we need to check if the device supports biometrics. And here's how you do it. Create a normal Kotlin function that takes one argument. So this one will return a boolean. So you have to create an instance of the biometric manager. There's a method called can authenticate that allows you to check whether a device supports biometrics or not. So you create that variable called manager. Make sure you import from Android X Biometric. This one, the second one, Android X Biometrics. Now that we have the manager, we can call the can authenticate method to verify if the device has biometrics. Return when. So we are checking if the device can authenticate. So the strong authentication is your face or the fingerprint. And then we have the device credential. So we are going to check this. So the first one, if it is successful, we'll log this. The device can authenticate. If the device, the hardware does not support it, then we'll log this. If the device has biometric, however, it is busy or malfunctioning, we'll log this. And finally, if the device has it, but the user has not set up the biometric yet, then we'll log this message and then return false. Otherwise, we'll return false for the else part. So you can create this log tag outside the main activity. Just const file and then the tag you want to give it to it. So this method allows us to check whether our device has biometrics or not. So we want to handle the situation where the device has biometric but the user has not set it up. We need to help them to do that. Create a function to help them enroll. Create a function that takes a context. So put it in a try catch block. Inside a try block, create a variable called intent. So in the catch block, we implement the fallback to security settings. Create another intent here. All what this function does is to open the system settings for biometric enrollment. If it is not available, we fall back to the security settings. Always make sure you have a backup plan. Now for the main event, showing the biometric prompt. This is where the magic happens. So we put that in a function pass fragment activity on success lambda and then on failure lambda. So the biometric prompt returns either true or false. So when it's true, we want to handle it in the success. When it's false, we handle it in the false. Create executor. Now create instance of the biometric prompt. Make sure you import from the Android X. Now pass the callback object. Inside this callback, you override three methods. The first one is on authentication succeeded. When it succeeds, we want to log that message here and call on success function. So next, you can override on authentication fail. So this one too, we'll just log the message and then we call the fail method. And then finally, we have on authentication error and then we pass the logcap and then we call the on failure function. So now let's create our authenticators. Now create custom dialog from the BiometricPrompt API. Then you pass your authenticators and call the build. Then finally call the biometric prompt and then authenticate by passing this guy. So you notice the API level checks over here. So it is only on Android 11 going that supports device credentials. So it is important to check before you set your authenticator. So now that we have everything set up, first for the authentication, second for enrollment, and thirdly for checking availability, then we can come here and implement the logic when the button is clicked. Inside our button, you first of all have to check and make sure that the activity is still active. So to do that, we have to create the fragment activity. We also need the content. So we get a current context and then we create the activity which is of type fragment activity, which is of context as activity. Now we can check if the activity is now or not. Now check if biometric is available, else then we do something else. When the biometric is available, we want to show the biometric prompt. So you pass the activity and then you pass on success. Inside the on success, we just say when it's successful, then we set auth results to authentication successful. So when it's not successful, we set it to fail. So if the biometric check is false, then we want to encourage the person to set it up. So we either encourage the person to set it up and then we set the message to biometric not available. So now let's run the application to test it. So our application has run. I'll use my physical device to test it. You can't test the biometric verification on the emulator, so you need to use your physical phone to do it. And that's it. You just implement biometric authentication in Android. Your users now have a secure and convenient way to access your app. Remember, good authentication isn't just about security, it's about trust. When users can quickly and safely access your app, they will use it more often. If you have any question, drop it in the comment, like and subscribe for more Android tips. See you in the next video.